name is Shmuel. How are you? Hope you're well. And today we're going to continue our series of Bible studying together. Today is going to be a bit different. In the last two sessions, we had a complete, full-on story from beginning to end. I had a presentation showing you all the verses, but today I thought maybe to try to explore it in a different way. Today, I'm not only going to use the biblical text, I'm also going to add some perspective from our sages, from the Jewish sages and the Midrashim. So, as an introduction, a short introduction, because this is a wide topic, I would say as follows. The Midrash are details, stories, observations that were given to us by our sages, by the rabbis, to complete the story that we read in the Bible. Sometimes you read a story and you feel there's gaps, and those gaps are usually being explored in the Midrash. This is word that was given to us by tradition from very early time, the time of the sages. Sometimes you see different explanation for the same topic. Sometimes you see something that strikes as it's almost the opposite from one another. But the very basic understanding is that the Midrashim are going to be here to complete the observation of the story, to tell us something that we could not see. It's a traditional story that will be passed to us, and with that we're going to open the view to understand the text better. It's usually something that's not going to be discussed, and especially in my teachings I was always connecting to the text. But specifically in this story today, I think by opening the Midrashim, by opening the explanations of the rabbis, we can explore it in a very different perspective and to see it on a different view. So just to be clear, that's the way I've prepared myself to this session. And to prepare yourself to a session like this, you need to read the text, read the different elements of the Midrashim, of the explanations, and try to, make a full story on it. And sometimes it looks like there's going to be different vignettes, but I hope we're going to see the story as a whole. Before we start, I want to please ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Facebook page, and to have a Bible next to you is going to be very helpful. I don't have a Bible in English, therefore I'm going to read from my other screen here. So if I'm going to look at this side, don't be offended, I'm with you. But this is where my screen is. So we will start. The topic of today is going to be a very interesting story that I've read many times, but I've never really jumped in to explode and to express. And this is the book of Yehoshua. We're in chapter 7 in Yehoshua, in Joshua. Small, short intro to the topic. Joshua and people of Israel begin to arrive to the land, and we know the stories of the spies that are being sent to the city of Jericho. And Jericho will be really the first time that the people are going to conquer a city in Israel. It's going to be a big miracle because they're going to turn around the city and the wall of the city are going to fall down, and the miracle is going to be very strong and very clear to everybody. We actually spoke about it last time when we spoke about Shavuot and the connection to it. And the next story is going to be the war on the city, the Ai. A-I. The city of Ai is a small city. And when the people of Israel, the people of the army see it, they understand you don't need so much power into it. You don't need so many people to go and fight this. So they're going to send a couple of people, few numbers, couple of thousands. And unfortunately, they lose the battle and 36 soldiers die. It's the second fight in Israel. It's the second war. We won once with a miracle, with the help of God. And now we lost one. The people are really, really afraid. They don't understand what happened. They scream, they pray, and they really don't like what they see. The first verse on the chapter 7 talks about Achan, and that's the way the pasuk says that the people of Israel took the devoted property. God said that you are not allowed to touch the devoted property of the city of Jericho, in a sense, as it's a miracle to show that it's not ours. It didn't came from a human battle. Do not touch it. But the people of Israel do that. The people of Israel, not really. It says that Achan, son of Carmi, son of Zavdi, son of Zerach, from the tribe of Judah, is the one who took that. And because of that, the people of Israel lose the fight. Really, they lose the fight, and Yeshua screams to God and asks for him, why did it happen? Why did you brought us here to lose those fights? God tells him in a very clear way, verse 10, you should stand while you fall upon your face. Israel has sinned. They took from what I told you not to take, and they stole, and they lied, and they put it in their vassals. The people of Israel, one person did it, Achan. And because of that, therefore, the children of Israel could not win the war against the people of Ai. And I'm not going to be with you, God says, because of what you did. Because the devoted property that you touched. And then go and you should find who did it. And you won't be able to win another fight without taking this devoted property back to your hands. But the process of how exactly Joshua is going to find out who is the person that did this is interesting, because they're going to cast lottery. And a lottery that's going to decide who is this person who took it. Why exactly God didn't point out and say, it's this guy? We don't know yet. And you see that the lottery goes into the tribe and into the family and into the specific person. And they did that, and they find from the tribe of Judah, the family of Zarchi, the men especially arrived to Achan. And then Joshua comes to Achan, verse 19, and told him in a very interesting way, Achan, my son, give, I pray thee, glory to the Lord God of Israel, and make confession to him. And tell me now what you had done. Hide it not from me. Confesses. He tells them, I took this and I took that. Joshua come and take what was under his tent, and he burns it, and they stone Achan, they kill him, they burn everything he has, and they build a big pile of stones around them, and they call this place Emek Achor, Emek Achor, till this very day. That's the very basic story. I hope you know it. If you don't remember correctly, please read chapter 7 again. And that's the very basic story. And let's try to find out what was hidden in the story. Because really, when you read it, there's some things that don't make any sense. First of all, very simple, justice. In the time of justice, we need to ask. One person sinned, and everybody's going to pay the price. Why do you kill soldiers in Israel? Yes, one person sinned, but the people didn't. More than that, when God comes to Joshua and tells him that the people sinned, he didn't say one person sinned. He said the people of Israel sinned. God sees it also as well as the sin of the people. Continue. Let's say this is the sin of the people. Let's say there's one person. You want to reveal who is the person? And come tell us. We will find him We will do everything he needs to do. Why the lottery? After that, so you find him. Why do you need to ask him to confess? If the lottery show that this is the person, obviously the lottery connects with God's will, God's intent to show you who is the person. Why do you need to go and ask for confession? And after he confesses, the punishment for robbery, for stealing, is not stoning. It's not burning everything on fire. And wow, that looks a bit severe, no? I know it's a situation here that maybe needs to show even harder situation than usual stealing, but still it looks a bit harsh. And lastly, in the very beginning of the chapter, when they describe the connections of Achan, you see something that you usually never see. Look how many generations they go back to tell you who is Achan. Ben Carmi, Ben Zavdi, Ben Zerach leMateh Yehuda. Carmi, Zavdi, Zerach to the tribe of Judah. They skipped a few generations, but it was really crucial for the Bible to tell you exactly where he came from. It's a traditional the family, maybe. Listen to the people that are named. These are the questions, and let's try to pick a couple of them and to discuss them. First of all, just if you ask yourself, why do we learn together this specific topic today? I thought about it, and it's interesting. The last thing we've learned were the story of Shavuot, the book of Ruth, the story of Jericho connected to Shavuot as well. And now it's almost like a continuation in chronicle times. Jericho and then the Ai. Maybe there's also going to be a connection with the book of Ruth. The one thing we can see immediately is the tribe of Judah. If Boaz is from the tribe of Judah, there's surely going to be a connection. But we're going to continue from there. And let's start with the obvious. Why one people sin and everybody is going to pay the price? The truth is, it's not the first time. We know that there's going to be a unity. There should be an alliance in the people of Israel. It's not spread families who live together. It's one body. And if one damages, if one organ in your body doesn't work, the whole body is going to go into crisis. We know that there's something that's going to connect the people with responsibility to one another. Kol Israel Arabim ze lezeh. All of the people of Israel are Arabim. I don't know how to say it in English, but it's like they are affiliated with one another. There's going to have a connection between them. It is not the first time that a very big scenario that starts is going to be stopped with a sin, right? In the first creation of the man, in the first creation of the world, we see already like a first sin comes there into place. When we receive the Torah, when we receive God's commandments into the world, the revelation in Sinai, there was the sin of the golden calf. You see one sin that might makes everything doesn't work so well. And then we have, when we begin to conquer the land that we were promised for so long, we have a Achan who makes this thing a bit more, not so straightforward. So, the alliance that the people have in Israel is something that is obviously something we can learn from this from this story. One person sins, everybody gets damages from it. The story tells about this boat that you see this you hear this loud voice in one of the rooms, and the captain goes and see what happens there, and he sees somebody, with a drill makes a hole in the boat. He says to him, "What are you doing?" He says, "What do you want?" It's my room. Don't you understand? You have responsibility for everybody. When one room is going to be damaged, surely everybody's going to be damaged. I thought about it, and it's very interesting. It's connected to the COVID-19. We saw, more than Israel, more than anything, we saw how everybody is connected. There's a thread here that connects between the people. One person is sick, and it follows others. So let's jump into the story. If this is the general story, and maybe we're going to get to what we can learn from all of it in the end, and how God sees every person perspective in person, but in alliance with the other people, we need to ask, what's the story with the lottery? So, do you remember any other issues, any other stories in the Bible with lottery? I'll give you a minute to think. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I thought immediately the Book of Jonah. The Book of Jonah, if you remember, there's a story where Jonah there is on the boat, and everybody there, the pirates, I imagine the pirates, like the people, the sailors, they need to understand why they have this strong storm, so they make a lottery, and indeed, Jonah is going to be caught there. In the Bible, we hear about the sacrifice of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement, there's two goats that are going to be sacrificed. And to decide who is going to be sacrificed where, we see this lottery again. In the book of Samuel, there's another lottery where somebody ate after Saul asked no one to eat in one of the wars. Somebody eats. It's going to be his son Jonathan, and really they do a lottery, and it's going to be Jonathan. There's another story there with the sons of Saul, but I think the most obvious and the strongest one, and very connected to the topic, is the story of divided the tribes of Israel into the land. All the process of dividing the land into the different tribes was happening by lottery. Remember this, it's going to come afterwards. So we see a very clear story about lottery, and we asked why specifically lottery. I thought to say as follows. Really points out the problem. It was supposed to be the people's problem. You were supposed to understand, Joshua and the nation, that when something like this happened to you, it happened for a reason. And if you don't understand the reason, I'm going to give you, just a tip, just a suggestion. Do a lottery. Try to find out what happened to you. I'm not going to give you the name, but you were supposed to do it initially. So the Midrash, as I said before, we're going to add it now, tells a story that's going to take us to a different direction. And it says as follows. It says that when Joshua came to Achan and told them, you were picked in the lottery, congratulations. And we hear that he asked them for a confession. And why is a confession? Because we read there's going to be a very interesting debate between Joshua and Achan. So Joshua comes to him and says to him, you were the one. Achan says to him, really? You want now to ask me to admit it's something just because of a lottery? I'll give you something else. If I'm going to do a lottery between you, Joshua, and the priest, the prophet next door, who's going to win? You give me no choice. By choosing two objects and saying it's one or another, who said it's going to be true? I refuse to accept the lottery. He refuses to accept the lottery, and he asks to question it until the point that Joshua comes and say, don't question the lottery. Because if you question the lottery, you're already questioning dividing of Israel, the tribes. Remember, the land is going to be divided into different tribes. It's going to be in lottery again as well. And if you're asking to question the lottery, you are opening a big debate about that. So confess. It doesn't make it enough to Achan. And not only that, his tribe, the tribe of Judah, begins to help him in the discussion. According to the Midrash, they would happen to have a fight, a war between the people of Judah and the others. It's not going to be huge and massive, but he saw that riots begin to happen there, interesting riots. And when he saw that people are going to almost to damage one another and to be killed, he thought to himself, the one person dies equals the whole world dying. I'm not going to take it on my hand. Therefore, he goes there and he stops and he admits and he says, I did this and I did that and I did this and I did that. And the Midrash says that he didn't only confess what happened here, he confessed on different sins he did in the past. Because it's not the first time apparently that Achan did such horrible things. He says that this confession, understanding that confession according to what happens here, is the source of even the people who are going to be judged in a Bet Din, in the Jewish court, and unfortunately are going to be had to be killed. They need to confess before they do it. Not confess that they really did it, but confess in a sense of making tshuva, repent for what they did, recognizing what they did. Stay with this recognition in mind, because the next chapter is going to be who really was Achan. To understand maybe the whole story, we need to go deep and understand who was the person, what was his story. If you go to a different book in the Bible, the last book, the Book of Chronicles, you would see something very interesting in chapter 2, verse 4. When the family of Judah is being displayed and explained, we hear that and we remember that from Judah and Tamar they had twin brothers, twin sons, Peretz and Zerach. If you remember when we talked about Ruth, we saw how Peretz is going to be the lineage of Boaz. Zerach is not somebody we go and follow so much. It's interesting to see that in the Book of Chronicles, it says something really horrible about him. Verse 4, 5, 6, they try to explain who Zerach was. And that's what it says in verse 6, Chronicles 2. Uvnei Zerach, and the sons of Zerach, Zimri, and Achan, and Iman, and Kalkol, and Der, 5 of them in all. And the sons of Carmi, verse 7 says, the sons of Carmi, Achar, the trouble of Israel, who transgressed in the devoted property. In the Book of Chronicles, they're going to mention that the son of Zarchi is going to be this Achan, the guy who's going to do the sin in the time of Joshua. Really? Nobody sinned? Other than that, why do you need to mention it? I want to jump into the story that we hear about the book of Genesis 38, when we read the description of what really happened there in the birth. So in 35:27, when the time came for her to give birth, there were twins in her womb. That's Tamar now I'm reading. While she was in labor, one of them put out his hand, and the midwife tied a crimson thread on the hand to signify this one came out first. But just then, he drew back his hand, and out came his brother and said, "What a branch you have made for yourself." So he was named Peretz. Zerach puts his hand first out of the womb. Peretz jumps, but Zerach is going to be the one to send his hand first. And now, the story of Zerach, the story of Achan, comes from the story of Zerach. You know what the problem with Zerach is? He sends his hand to the places that he doesn't supposed to be in. When you read the verses here, you're going to see the word hand 4 times. The commentary loves to say that usually everything we can take comes from 2 hands. When you want something which is not yours, you need extra 2 hands to help you. Zerach wants something that he does not supposed to have. He pushes the hand before he come to the world, and he tried to take something which is not his. We know that Peretz is going to be the father of Boaz, eventually the father of David. The kingdom of Israel is going to start there. But Peretz is going to be questioned by our friend Zerach. His hand is going to be there. Questioning the next royal king, the one who is supposed to lead the tribe, is apparently what happens in the story of Achan as well. Joshua told you what you need to do and what you shouldn't do. And when he told you that, the fact that you're doing it anyway, that's because you're questioning Joshua. That's because you don't know exactly what's your position. You're going to send your hand and try to take some more when really it's not your place to be. If we understand what we said before in the Midrash that explains that the people of Judah fought for him, we understand we're now beginning to see almost a tribal connection. The people of Judah with Achan are questioning the kingdom of Yehoshua. In fact, the fact that you see it comes from the whole tribe, you see it's going to take time, but something is going to hit. They will understand it's not the right way. When will they understand? The tribe of Judah knows to confess when needed. Achan is going to be asked to confess what he did and what he sinned. And it's not going to be the first time the people of Judah are going to confess. Because in the very story, when we hear about Peretz and Zerach, we hear about a confession. Literally the word Yehudah, Judah, comes from the word to confess. And Judah is going to confess that he did sin wrong with Tamar. You remember this in the book of Ruth? This confession of Judah that says, I confess, tzadka mimeni, she was righteous than me. She was true. What I did was wrong. I need to confess. This is Judah. More than that, the power of confessing that comes from the story of Judah is exactly the two opposites of Peretz and Zerach. The family of Peretz know how to confess. King David is going to confess. In the very end story, when he's going to do whatever he's going to do with Bathsheba, he's going to confess and he's going to say, I was wrong. This is the stream of Peretz. Zerach doesn't know to do that. He is full with this pride. He wants to take things that is not his. He steals and he confesses because he did it many times. He sends his hand to places that he supposed to have. And in the very end, we hear that he only really thinks about himself. How so? We asked before, the punishment of stoning is not related to stealing. That's not the punishment that's supposed to be. You know what we stoned according to the Torah somebody? When somebody breaks Shabbat. And the Midrash here complete this gap as well in a different story. And he says, the city of Jericho fell on Shabbat. The Sabbath. We know we're not supposed to fight. We're not supposed to do anything that is not supposed to be breaking Shabbat, the laws of Shabbat. But when it's something that we do in honor of Klal Israel, the people of Israel, the greater good, we are allowed to fight in Shabbat as well. We're allowed to save people on Shabbat, and we're allowed to go to wars on Shabbat, because we're not thinking ourselves of private. This is all of Israel standing here in risk. When you steal on Shabbat, or when you steal in Jericho, you almost show how you really didn't care to fight for the benefit of the people of Israel. You fought for the benefit of yourself. You took something to your pocket. You made this public war, this national power of war, into something private that's going to be about you. Funny enough, the end story, when they reveal how he stole what he stole, Achan's story is going to be all around his tent. He hid the thing in his tent. People run to take it from the tent. They took it from the tent. They brought him. They took his tent and they burned it. The tent, the tent, the tent. The tent represents your private home. The nation of Israel comes together as a nation. We're in the desert. We're dwelling. But when you think about your tent, and that's everything you have in mind, you're making this public affair into your private affair. We read about a tent before. There's somebody who's going to have a tent. You know that already, right? Abraham. Abraham has a tent. When we know that his tent shows what his welcoming guest is. Thinking about the public, not thinking about myself. Funny enough, when you look at Genesis chapter 12, verse 8, you will see something that is spooking. That when he comes from Bethel and he wants to pitch his tent, you know where he did it? Next to the eye. Check. 12:8. And when he comes back from Egypt after the famine, he's going to go to the exact spot next to the eye. In those areas, the area that you can see almost the Dead Sea, there's going to be a very interesting incident that already connects us back to the book of Ruth, when Abraham and Lot are going to stand there and they're going to decide which direction you're going to go. And Abraham is going to take the tent and he's going to open to the crowd. And he's going to welcome people and he's going to make the tent a public space. But the truth is that Lot is going to think about his private tent. And when he looks there into the Jordan Valley towards the Dead Sea, and I hope all of you are going to stand there soon, coming back to Israel, you know what he sees? He sees all of the green. When you see green in your eyes, you see only the profit. You see only the water. You see only your perspective and what you can gain from it. You are able to leave the tent of Abraham and open this private tent in the city of Sodom. And we know what happens in Sodom. This is not a story of a private person, your family or his family. This is a public war and a public affair that's going to connect to the people of Israel. And you, Achan, took it to your private sector. It's interesting how many people died in the war. 36 people. What does it mean? In the Sanhedrin, in the big Jewish court, in the time of the temple, 70 people sat. And when they discussed and everybody brought and shared this opinion, and that's connected to the sages where we're talking about in the Midrash, who complete the story, everybody had their own perspective and a personal view. But something changed. When they have a majority of 36 people, they switch from being private to being a majority, to being people, to being a lot. It is not a story of one private person and the way he conducts. It's the way that you need to understand you have responsibility on the people. This responsibility happened and changed when they cross the Jordan and they arrive to Israel. Because in Israel, we know that the command is to split the country into the tribes and make a king. Make a king only comes when you become a nation. When you are not specifically individuals wandering around the desert and making sure that you're going to be satisfied in whatever you need you're going to have. When you look at the atmosphere of a nation, when you understand that's going to be king now, and who is going to be the king? Somebody who's going to take, somebody who's going to send his hand to the public and take whatever he wants, or somebody that's going to stand there and lead the way. This is the debate that the family of Zerach, that Achan came from, made, and this is his mistake. Israel arrive, and after many years of suffering, they enter the land, and this land was supposed to hug them. We are talking about the bond and the connection between God and the people of Israel in the land. that's going to come true. And what everything don't understand is that this crucial time needs to really be in a way that's going to teach us forevermore the way to act. Stop with the privacy. Understand you're a nation and you have a responsibility to one another. Yes, if one person sins, the other are going to die. Because I'm there with you. I'm fighting your fights. If you understand that, you will understand that the word that comes from the divine needs to be clear and clean and for the public and not for individuals. We said that the place that it all happened was the valley of Achor. Achan, Achor comes from the word unclean. Mayim Achurim are unclean water. And the valley of Achor is going to be mentioned again. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 2, verse 17, we hear that the valley of Achor is going to become a plowland of hope. In Hebrew, ואת עמק החור לפתח תקווה. Petach Tikva, the city in Israel, comes from this word. There she shall respond as in the days of her youth, when she came up from the land of Egypt. The land of Egypt. We remember what happened in the land of Egypt. We were surviving, each of one of us only for ourselves. Making the covenant with God. Understanding we become in this covenant with the people, and that's the beginning of hope. The story of Achan is going to be finished. We're going to remember what it meant when somebody took things that is not ours. When you think about yourself only and you don't think about the public. That's an opportunity. That's a plowland of hope. From there, things can come. Peretz, the king, the Joshua, the next person is going to be in charge of the people of Israel. And this is where it all started, Achan. I think this time, the COVID, and even what we see now in the US, is the time of responsibility. People need to understand what happens around them, to be responsible to the public, not to think only about ourselves. We saw it literally in the COVID, and I think it continues ongoing. I hope that you're going to enjoy this. Continue to follow us on Facebook and on YouTube. We're going to send our teaching from here, the land of Israel, Judea and Samaria, to you guys. We really hope we're going to work together and make ourselves, not individual, but as a public, as people, work together for the end goal. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that video, and we'd like to be sure you're getting all of our video content. So just click on the subscribe button below, as well as on the notification bell, and that way you will have easy access to all our material. We look forward to staying in touch with you. God bless you, and have a wonderful day.